right, good afternoon, councillors, and those who are here in attendance and those that might be tuning in as well. As we do gather here today in Town Hall on the unceded Palawa lands, the original and ongoing owners, we open today's meeting at 1 p.m. Please be seated. In opening today, we do have our attendance and apologies as a part of agenda item number 1. We've got Councillor Walker away today and an apology from Councillor Pentridge. And with that opening as well, we just do note that as a part of Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025, that there is a recording made, and just to be mindful of those in the room and those that might be listening in after, just around being respectful to those and considerate towards those. With the mayoral acknowledgements, I would like to make a couple of acknowledgements here, and in particular, the passing of Professor Scolyer too. The amount that he and his team dedicated, the time, the resources, and the way in which so many people through that melanoma study and work will go on, and that legacy will continue, I think is something that will be, him personally, will be sorely missed. But that, just to reiterate, that work will continue to touch and to save lives going forward. We at the City of Launceston have been incredibly privileged and proud through our connections with the Professor, and we look forward to that legacy continuing, and we make that acknowledgement here of his passing and to his family today. Also, I'm just going to bring up, semi-related in terms of the King's honours from the weekend, and just pay tribute to those as well. There was, I believe, 7 that were put through, including former Alderman Kendrick there too. So very well deserved, and still, as we'll see, as a part of this agenda with the Flood Authority, still very active in contributing to Launceston. So we'll ensure that those are reached out to personally from the City of Launceston, and we thank and acknowledge the recipients of those awards and those honours from the weekend. And again, just to note that there will be formal representation and thanks going out to those, and in particular to our former Alderman there too. Declarations of interest as we move forward through to agenda item number 3. A councillor must declare any interest that a councillor has in any matter before any decision on that matter commences. Do we have any declarations today? Okay, there being none, we'll move forward to the confirmation of minutes at 4.1. The recommendation being that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the City of Launceston Council that was held here on the 28th of May be confirmed as true and correct record, please. Councillor Britton has moved, seconded by Councillor Marsden. Any contributions to the minutes? Okay, to the vote, all those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 5, we've got council workshops. 5.1 is the council workshop report. Recommendation being that council notes the council workshops conducted and attended since the last council meeting. Somebody please to move. Councillor Marsden, seconded by Councillor Britton. Any contributions to the workshops? There being none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We have no councillors' leave of absence applications or community reports that have been identified as a part of this agenda, so we'll move to 8, which is questions by members of the public. At 8.1, we've got questions on notice by members of the public, which are responded to and published as a part of this agenda. So we'll move to 8.2, which is questions without notice. And if we could just reiterate, please start with your name and suburb, and you may ask a total of 3 questions. Going to start, please, with Robert.
Thank you. Robert Calvert of East Launceston, Director of the Tasmanian Wool Centre Executive Committee member and past President of the Midland Agricultural Association, original owners of the Ermenegildo Xenia Wool Trophy, referred to in agenda item 19.2, the monthly financial report for April, in particular, the $100,000 insurance claim. In item 19.2, it states that Council has received a $100,000 insurance recovery relating to the theft of the Ermenegildo Xenia Wool Trophy, and has reported that amount as favourable income within its financial results. Mayor, can you confirm that councillors were made aware of the historical and cultural significance of the Xenia Trophy to the two volunteer-led, not-for-profit organisations in the Tasmanian Wool Centre and Midland Agricultural Association and Greater Tasmanian wool industry generally, and the history surrounding how it came under control of QVMag prior to the allocation of the $100,000 insurance recovery? Question 2, will Council undertake an independent review of the provenance, ownership history and entitlement to the insurance proceeds and provide that review to councillors and the public, and commit that the insurance recovery will not be spent, transferred into general revenue or otherwise appropriated until stakeholder consultation and an independent review are completed? Question 3, upon completion of above-mentioned review, will Council commit to consultation of key stakeholders around the allocation of the $100,000 insurance recovery with the aim of honouring the legacy of the Xenia Trophy and providing a positive and morally just outcome in what is a tragic and historically significant event for the wool industry nationally?
Great, thank you, and thank you for coming in and asking those questions. I'll take 2 and 3 on notice, and it is a live agenda item in which some of those questions might very well be asked by the table. But just in reference to question 1, I feel quite comfortable and confident that the way in which the council positioned itself, particularly through its internal channels and through the media, around the reward system and the way in which it was relating its information to the councillors around the significance, I feel very comfortable and confident that that was put through the chamber and to the elected representatives around the significance, a part of our identity and a part of the history of Launceston, absolutely. So I feel confident with that, and we will take question 2 and 3 on notice, noting that it is a live agenda item and that there might very well be some further conversations and questions asked once we get to that live agenda item. Great, thank you. Thanks, Robert. Further questions without notice, Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Notes former Alderman Robin McKendrick was awarded a Order of Australia, and it was very well deserved. Nice to see. King's Birthday honours. Question, following up on the agenda today is an answer about CCTV cameras, particularly in the bus stop in St John Street. I was following on from where I said that Council views camera system for the purposes of facilities asset management, not public safety or crime prevention. And it talks about being some cameras that may be out of service short term. I wonder, would Council be prepared to audit those cameras at the bus stops, A1, I think A2, which is the east side of St John Street, and then bus stop B1 and B2. Don't necessarily have to publish them, but would they audit it and perhaps make that available for me to see in camera, so you don't give anything away if you were to do that, please?
Yes, no, we'll take that on notice and see that that is responded to and how that aligns with the previous notice of motion around the work with our CCTV. So yes, we're happy to take that on notice.
Thank you, Matt. I look at the security patrols for security officers, the directives given. Now, at the last meeting, I think the term I used about youth behaviour, I think I used the term displaced, and I felt that it was being displaced from the St John Street bus interchange, most notably for me and my colleagues, the Brisbane Street Mall.
Sure.
I noticed there's a directive given for the security officers how they conduct themselves and what they're expected to do. They are to patrol only the 2 bus stops on either side of the street, either side of the mall, to the left and to the right. Their engagement approach in dealing with the youth, and I quote here, there's a directive to officers, security officers, I'll quote directly, officers will avoid directive language such as move on and instead use cooperative communication style. Now, I spoke about moving on, but I used the word displace. And it talks about using cooperative communication styles. Effectively, that's still getting the officers to, for want of another words, as you write here, move them on. Is there anything else that we can, because the place they go to is the closest place where they're not moved on from? It's clearly the only directive that security officers have. There's little mistaking that is to just displace the problem. So that's a question, and could you take that, please?
Yes, thank you. And I'll just note around that this trial period will take into account the feedback from yourself in particular, but those other businesses as to what is further required. This is a directive that has been brought about to deal with a specific issue, and if that is creating further issues, then that will absolutely be a part of that trial system and that review, and will form part of next steps for this council, absolutely. But we'll take that on notice for further initiatives and work that could and would be required to go in that direction also.
Thank you. So that effectively both, it's clear that my displacement theory aligns with Council's move on directive. So why, if you are just moving on, why would you not put a security guard where the problem appeared, which I allege is in the mall? Why would you, to the left of the mall, move youth on that was causing antisocial behaviour, and to the right of the mall, and have to cross the mall but not deal with that issue? Why would the security officers not concern themselves, or would you not require them to concern themselves wherever that trouble materialised?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Smith. And again, as a part of that report, we'll be looking at all of the implications around this direct initiative, but then in also saying that there are several initiatives that are running with TasPol at the moment that do address antisocial behaviour in the mall, and people can converse over their own ideas as to how effective that is, but I do know that there is a police officer that will walk the mall for hours at a time in which I've sat there and seen and observed that myself too. So there are other initiatives in which we are working with. This is a direct trial around that specific area, and if that is creating further issues and concerns, and that will be addressed as a part of the review come that trial. And I look forward to more measures around not further policing necessarily, but other ways in which we can engage those that are disengaged and creating a sense of people feeling unsafe and so forth. That will be covered as a part of the review of what we are doing right now, which is that trial of that specific location.
That's clear. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. Further questions without notice?
Hi, Ros Lewis, Trevelyan. I guess you can guess that I'm just going to say that it's just 2 weeks until 4 of our representative councillors will be in Canberra, and from what I'm hearing about the Sydney motion, this is my question, within the next 2 weeks, will there be time for the councillors to decide whether they want to support, whether Launceston wants to support that motion? We haven't, those of us who are interested haven't gone further to ask you to pass a specific one, because we know that there's, it's embedded in everything that the council does. Will there be a directive, or will it be left up to people to listen to the argument at the time?
No, and thank you for the question and the follow-up, and I can comfortably say that today that work is actually going on right now, and as you've expressed, there are over 200 notices of motion that will be going to ALGA, and this chamber and this council is quite unique in the way in which it endorses positions, whether it's at local government or whether it's at the Australian government, around those that are attending and how to vote on those specific and individual issues. And again, I can quite comfortably say that that work is going on right now. It's being addressed by one of the departments, which will come through the executive leading department, and then that will be put forward to the councillors. And there is the potential for that to come to the special meeting, in which we will call at the end of this agenda today around budgets, it might be an individual line in that in which it will become publicly available on that day for the recommendations and the alignment strategically for council as to how each aligns with those 200. So quite a bit of resource goes into that, and that will be brought forward to the councillors for official endorsement or not. It will be still a document that comes to councillors ahead of those that are going there with the direction and the alignment to each of those 200. I would feel confident to say that we could make that publicly available as to where it aligns. I think that there's interest, and not just your own, but greater interest as to where the City of Launceston is aligning with those notices of motion coming from those other councils. But yes, whether that's an individual line that we'll see in the agenda for that special meeting coming up, or whether that's something that we just choose to make publicly available, there will be and is currently some work going on there, and I know that comfortably because we've spoken about that again just for clarification today offline.
Thank you very much for that information.
Great.
Good luck in Canberra.
Thank you. Were there any further questions without notice? Okay, well, we'll move through the agenda now to 9 and 10, which we have no petitions or deputations identified. So we move into Planning Authority. At 11, under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993, Council acts as a planning authority in regard to items included in this agenda under number 11. 11.1, we have the Main Street Local Heritage Precinct. I don't have any noted speakers to the item. Thank you, Mr. Smith. From the public, but I will open to the floor if there were. There being none, we will move forward to the recommendation. Thanks, Robert. Looking for someone, please, to move the motion as printed. Got Councillor Kai. Seconder? Councillor Britton. Now that the agenda is live, before we get to speaking, some questions. I'll start with the mover and the seconder first. Any questions to the recommendation as printed, Councillor Kai? Councillor Britton is the seconder. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Just wondering if officers could just outline the consultation process that went on, I think happened in August 2025, just on the process of how that was, what was basically sent out for comment and what comments came back, just so we can get a bit of a history of that before we make a decision. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor. We'll go through the Executive Leader of Community Asset and Design, who may very well delegate to your team.
Community consultation for the Main Street Precinct was undertaken over a month between mid-August and mid-September 2025. Property owners received a letter, the Main Street Precinct data sheet, and 3 flyers detailing information regarding the Heritage Review, Heritage Precincts and insurance. Of the 120 properties consulted within the precinct, we received 7 general inquiries. Inquiries included queries regarding insurance, general maintenance and overall support for the precinct. Following the community consultation, minor adjustments were made to the extent of the precinct.
Fantastic, thank you. Further questions? Okay, we'll move to the mover and the seconder to speak. Councillor Kai.
Thank you very much. As we all remember, we've approved the Newstead Crescent Heritage Precinct not that long ago, and we've done a bus tour of the site visit in that area, and I would just like to say that if we could all agree to support this this decision, and I'll just read a part on here. So this precinct is considered to have local heritage significance for various values, including its history, its local history, aesthetics, the characteristics, and its association with persons of the locality. Sought after for its unique location on the elevated Invermay Island, the Main Street Heritage Precinct in Invermay presents architectural forms ranging from the late Victorian, Federation, interwar and post-war. In addition to present-day development, the precinct of the historical significance in its ability to demonstrate a late 19th century subdivision within Launceston. The place exhibits modest residential life, particularly of the Federation and interwar era, in architectural styling of housing, and showcase a landmark quality educational institution in Invermay Primary School. So when a precinct happens, when we do one of these precincts, I think a lot of people feel scared that they can't develop in that area. So with the precinct, it's not like that. So with this precinct, it's DAs can be put in, but it is to be in sympathy with the area, which means that we can keep that area. If development needs to go up, it will just be similar to what is already there. So this is a good thing for the area and for Launceston. Same with the Newstead Crescent Heritage Precinct. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Kai. Councillor Britton is the seconder.
Thank you very much. Look, I don't really have much to follow on from Councillor Kai, other than happy to pass this one today and send it out to public consultation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Britton. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the response to my question earlier. And I too do stand to support the next phase of this process. All I would ask is if this does get positive support today, that we may write back to the residents that we wrote to previously, and if there are any others that have changed house, to let them know what the decision was today, and they do have 28 days in which they can come back and any other contextual matters that may be useful for them in making their decision as to whether they put in an objection to it or not. Because whilst I agree with the concept of these precincts, I think it's really great, but I live in it, I want to know a bit more about it and how it impacts me. So any information that we can give back to them to make that journey a lot easier for them to understand how it's going to impact them on the going forward basis, and that it actually is going to improve the historic preservation of Launceston City.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further contributions? Anything further to close, Councillor Kai? Great. To the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Our second planning item at 11.2 is the rezoning of land at 23 Racecourse Crescent, Launceston, from the recreation zone to the commercial zone. I don't have any noted speakers from the public, so we will move to the recommendation. That recommendation is that Council agrees to initiate a scheme amendment. Been moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Harris. Now it's live. Any questions? Questions to the rezoning? A question, Councillor Harris.
Yes, could I just get the planning officers to perhaps give us a brief outline of why this is now before us as a commercial, where previously it had been sport and recreation, and just to help us and anyone listening to understand why we may be rezoning this land at this time.
Great, thanks Councillor Harris. Through the Executive Leader of Community Assets and Design. To Dilip.
Thank you. So we received an application to rezone from recreation zone to commercial zone. The main purpose is the landowners of Kmart Plaza, which is at 15 Racecourse and 23 Racecourse. They are the same owners. They want to redevelop if there is a possibility to put in a retail general leader and higher if possible. However, in this situation, in this instance, they haven't proposed any use and development. It's basically they want to rezone it to make it into conformity with what is existing on the Kmart Plaza, which is a commercial zone. So they want some certainty for future use and development. Currently, the site does have sports and recreation for gymnasium. So under the current zone, which is the recreation, has the sports and rec is no permit and permitted use class. If we initiate the commercial zone to this site, so there won't be any restrictions on the part what is currently existing, which is a discretionary use, which will be a discretionary use in the commercial zone. However, there is a general provision under the planning scheme which allows for the sports and rec to be a permitted use class. So there won't be any issues. They can still redevelop or do extensions or if any future development of that sports and recreation. So there are no restrictions.
Great, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, Deputy Mayor is the mover to speak.
Thank you, and I stand at this stage to support it. I'm interested in other comments that come through. I mean, the officers, when we went and visited the site, explain. Obviously, we've got plans to develop St Leonard's and Waverley areas significantly over the next 20 or 30 years, and having some commercial zoning on that side of town made some sense. It adjuncts to the Kmart Plaza, and there's a block of land right beside it, which I think is commercial, and then the building itself is zoned recreational, which I guess is a carryover from the days when it was a sporting precinct through there, ABC Bowls Club, before it became the tennis courts, the NTCA ground and proper. So I guess it's changed over time. It's got history, this property, for when it was being used as a sporting precinct, and it had an outside bar that elicited a lot of interest from the neighbours with party buses and things like that turning up. So I imagine we're going to get some commentary back from the neighbours in the region in regards to the uses of the property and how that might impact upon them. It may well even get some response back from the people who are currently leasing it, because it's being leased under a different zone. I'm interested in if Councillor McMahon's got a comment, because clearly from a retail precinct point of view, the CBD, are we watering it down with what we've done with big box developments in the past? Or is this just a natural progression of what we're doing now? This is only the start of the process, so I'm hoping we'll get some feedback in regard to that from a number of players. I'm interested, as I say, in what the retailers in the CBD might think about it, given it's got more big boxy look about it, and so therefore the potential for some stuff that's happening in Launceston either fragments further than what we currently do with what we've got out in Inveresk and so forth. So they're my major concerns, but I guess we heard from the officers in regard to their views in regard to how that populates and believes the CBD has its own particular set of circumstances which should lead itself to be successful in its own right, as opposed to what happens in this commercial zone. So I'm now sitting here with interested ears to see what others have to say.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Harris is the seconder.
Yeah, thank you. I won't say a lot because Councillor Mackenzie's edited it all so elegantly, but it is interesting to understand that this change to commercial zoning is probably more a long-term strategy by the landowners. It may not affect what happens there today. So therefore, those residents who live nearby, this is now your opportunity. This is your opportunity to now have a say about whether you think this land should be changed to the commercial zoning, because commercial zoning would allow many greater uses than is currently there. And if they aren't happy with that, now's the time to say something. It is part of the process that we have, as it is with the heritage listing out at Holbrook Street. So that's really only my call, is for call to action for those who might be interested to come and have their say, particularly if they might be affected. And that doesn't mean they live opposite. You can be affected because you own, as Councillor Mackenzie said, property in the centre of town, which now could have a lower cost competitor created out there. We do know there are plans, but haven't yet been built upon, for extending the Kmart shopping plaza to include further retail, and this will only add additional land that could, and I do mention could, be extended, and so people would need to be aware of that. But as Councillor Mackenzie said, a suburban shopping centre on that side of town is something that we don't have. We have one north and south, but we don't really have one that sits in the east, and yet we know we have development of plus around up to 3,000 blocks of land on the eastern side of Launceston that may need to have some form of suburban higher level shopping centre than just a corner shop and a supermarket. Look forward to see what anyone else might have to say, but also to see what our residents think about this change as well. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Harris. Further contributions? Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. I think big box retailing will always have an effect on CBD businesses, but if we are looking at the growth in population, I think then we're going to have to be looking at outer areas for commercial businesses to be able to set up. As a retailer myself, obviously I have a niche market, and I guess I would be very disappointed if I had a big box retailer that was competing against my business, given the challenges that we actually have within our CBD presently. I think we have probably a lot more problems to worry about rather than changing this to a commercial entity at some point. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor McMahon. Further contributions? Anything to close? All right, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Thank you, planning team. We now no longer sit as a planning authority, so we move through to announcements by the Mayor at 12.1. They are published monthly, and just a quick little side note as I flick through all those pages to thank the Deputy Mayor in particular for being able to step in particular on Friday and Saturday at quite last minute and still ensuring that those events and those subsequent events since then still got council representation. And I know that they're very much appreciative of that, and I very much am also Deputy Mayor. So thank you for your ability to do that on behalf of the City of Launceston too. Moving to 13 at councillor reports, we'll start with Councillor Kai.
Thank you. Well, before I start on my councillor's report, can we say congratulations to our Mayor for Michelle for having second baby, Melody.
Oh, thank you.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that was the reason why you couldn't make it to some of the events you were supposed to. Okay, I'll start my report. Hold on, I'm having trouble seeing. Let me see. Okay, so over the last month, Councillor Priest and myself attended a series of 3 Australia's biggest morning tea, hosted by Ramona and the Northern Suburbs Community Centre in support of the Cancer Council. First week was hosted at the Northern Suburbs Community Centre in Newnham, where we enjoyed delicious food and took part in activities including rock painting for Tas Rock. Second week was held at the Northern Suburbs Community Centre in Mowbray, where we had our portraits drawn by a lovely artist, Wendy. The third was held at the Shed in Rochalee, and there was a lot of fun and a lot of dancing as well. All 3 events were filled with laughter, conversations and community spirit. A big thank you to Ramona for her dedication and hard work in organising all 3 events. Also to everyone who attended, volunteered, donated and helped make these events a success in making a difference to the lives of those affected by cancer. On the 29th of May, Councillor Priest and I attended another biggest morning tea. This one was hosted by Jess Green MP. It was wonderful to see so many people from different backgrounds, communities and political views coming together to support such an important cause. Cancer impacts so many families, and events like this reminds us that compassion and community go beyond politics. Thank you to Jess and everyone involved for creating such a warm and welcoming event in support of Cancer Council. On the 2nd of June, Councillor Priest and I had the pleasure of giving, how do you say his name? Kohito, an exchange student from Tokyo, a tour of Launceston Town Hall. Kohito was conducting research and interviewed Councillor Priest as part of his legal studies. He was highly engaged throughout the visit and showed a great interest in local government, the history of Town Hall, and he was super keen about our sister city relationship with Ikeda. He told us that he hopes to become a politician when he returns to Japan. On Tuesday, just gone, along with Councillor Priest, Harris, Marsden and Deputy Mayor, I attended the Members Connect held at the St Luke's Wellness Hub, hosted by the Launceston Chamber of Commerce. This event focused on an important question: what's next for Launceston and Northern Tasmania? The discussions explored the opportunities and challenges ahead, including the future of UTAS Stadium, major events, tourism growth, investment attractions, conference facilities and the redevelopment potential of key sites such as Bogsbury Precinct. It was encouraging to hear from local leaders and representatives about the opportunities available as we look towards 2031 and beyond. Strong visitation, major events, vibrant city space and continued investments will all play an important role in supporting jobs, business confidence and economic growth across our region. While there are different views on the best path forward, conversations like these are valuable in helping shape a shared vision of Launceston's future. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Councillor Kai. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'll work my way backwards from yesterday. Yesterday I sat in on the Tasmanian Active Living Coalition hookup, which is a statewide meeting of people involved with active living, and we had a very interesting presentation by State Growth on the electric BRT, that's bus rapid transport, that is being proposed for Hobart, which would run from the northern suburbs down through to Kingston and also across to the Eastern Shore, if ultimately implemented. So a very interesting thing that is being proposed for Hobart. The figures are mind-blowing, and the possibility for improved transport within that city could also be extrapolated to being provided here in Launceston at a future time. But I'm sure that Hobart will get it first. Yesterday I also had the pleasure of having about 20 homeschool children come for a tour of the City Hall, so I had the opportunity to talk to them both in this room about what we do as a council sitting around the table, but also the history of the councillors and the pictures downstairs of the previous mayors. On Wednesday week ago, the acting CEO Jane and I went down to hear the Premier's State of the State address. Much has been made of probably the only new announcement in that, which was the ability for people who might build modular housing to be able to meet the banking industry's requirements for progressive payments, which would be a change and have some change, help some in their quest to get a home built in a modular form, which is obviously quicker and somewhat cheaper, one hopes, but it would be interesting to see how that goes, and obviously will apply statewide, so we'll get to see it here. Also, last week I attended on the 29th the NTDC Strategic Workshop. So this was a strategic workshop for Northern Tasmanian Development Corporation's next 3-year plan, an appropriate time to do it. They had their new CEO, Michael Bailey, formerly of the TCCI, there in attendance, along with the outgoing CEO, Chris Griffin, as well as every other council being represented, with various mayors and general managers and other council officers there as well. So that was a very interesting workshop to have. And finally, I'd like to pass my own congratulations for appearing on the King's Honours list to a fellow Franklin House volunteer, and that's Jill Forsyth. Jill has been given an OAM for her service to the community and the heritage conservation. So not only does she do a lot of work out at Franklin House as the head gardener, and for those who've been to the house will appreciate the beauty of that garden, and it is often shown up in reviews, both online and elsewhere, about how good the garden is kept. But she has lots to do in other heritage properties around Tasmania. And so congratulations to Jill, and of course former councillor Robert McKendrick as well, who's also got a job later on in our agenda. Thank you.
Great, thanks Councillor Harris. Further community reports, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to follow on from Councillor Kine, just acknowledging your birth of Melody and fantastic news that is. And I've seen now one was born on the 5th of June and the other was born the 7th. We have a meeting in the middle and have their birthdays on the 6th. So that's the way to sort of deal with the issue of whose comes first, I think. So fantastic for you and Michelle and Billy, of course. I just want to also acknowledge Professor Richard Scollier, who was mentioned earlier, and the profound impact he's had on this world. And I stand here as living proof of somebody who may not be here had it not been for his interventions in melanoma research over many, many years. So I just acknowledge the sterling work that he did during his lifetime and even right up to death in trying to deal with issues of brain cancer, which he was suffering from himself. And I have a friend who's now currently going through a situation with the GBM, now going through trials which are actually on the back of what Richard's been through himself, which gives this person a lot more hope than he probably had 6 months ago when he started on the process. So just want to acknowledge a great Tasmanian and a great Australian, so sadly lost. Again, likewise to Councillor Harris and yourself, just wanting to acknowledge Alderman McKendrick and his advancement for a person who was on the council for about 70 years now. I think it was 1983, so about 40 years. So a really long and dedicated servant of the city, and as we find out later on today, the flood authority is also still here in spirit. So it's great news for him to have received that award. Also, just want to note again, because I'm still not seeing much out there, but next Monday, Oz Alert are going to do an emergency warning here in Launceston. We are a test site for a national alert that's going to come out in July. So next Monday between 11 12, I think, there will be an alert which will be pinging off the towers, so it's not sort of coming to your phone, it's coming in a different way. Jump onto the tower, and anybody who's in range of the tower will actually get that alert. If you've got your phone switched on, it will beep at you. If you've got it on silent, it won't. If you've got it turned off, it won't. If you've got it in airplane mode, you won't. So we've been trying to work hard to ensure that those people who are vulnerable with phones, particularly domestic violence and things like that, are well known to them as to what it is, so they have a second phone, so they've got that turned off. In a month's time, the alert will not be able to be shut off unless you've got it on airplane mode or turned off. So just being aware, and if you're talking to people, let them know this is happening, because it's important that we do that. We're a test site, and all things being well, it shouldn't cause too many issues, but just being aware of that, because I'm not seeing anywhere near enough coverage of that, even though it's not our trial. It's actually it's being done out of National Emergency Management Authority in Canberra. Yet if something goes wrong, I'm sure we'll be told about it. I just wanted to note, last week, or 2 weeks ago, last week, we had the sad news of Boag's closing, and we had a really good meeting with Boag's CEO and their COO, I think, last week, and from that we've developed a number of strategies and some letters that have been written to various levels of government and back to Lion Nathan in regard to their potential ongoing support of this community. Again, like a number of the councillors, Councillor Collar mentioned, we went to the Community Connect run by the Chamber of Commerce last week or earlier this week. And to be honest, what I was really impressed about was a really positive conversation. It wasn't sort of woe is me and how could they do this to us. I mean, whilst everybody's sad and would love to reverse the decision, everybody's focusing on what next could come from it. So it was a really good, positive energy in the room, I think, and that's what we need as a city, is we need to sort of take whatever happens and take it and turn it into a positive, rather than sit there and lament what actually has happened to us. Because I read in the newspaper, I think the Sunday Examiner last weekend, about 1996, Boag was on its knees when it was under previous ownership, which was more localised ownership. So it's been a long time coming, and done well to last as long as it can. And if we can make it last longer, that'd be great. But noting the really positive energy that's going on out there. Also attended a stakeholder event out at Launceston Airport, who again this year will kick numbers of passengers coming through their airport out of the paddock again, and be another record, I'm sure, by the 30th of June, number of passengers, unless we have nobody flying for the next few days. But it'll be another record year, which is showing that Launceston as a destination in and out is fantastic, and it's growing, and something that we should be proud of, and we need to keep kicking along and utilising the strengths that we have to do that. I attended the Gastronomy Northern Tasmania forum yesterday, which is again part of this bigger picture on how we can do things. So it was a really interesting group of people in the room talking about all things to do with gastronomy. What is it? And how can we actually benefit from it? And a lot of those questions came up yesterday, which is good, which hopefully will get us more focused on how we're actually going to take advantage of that denomination. Went to the National Reconciliation Week breakfast last week as well, where Councillor Walker, who was actually MC of it, did a fantastic job in MCing that event. So well done to Councillor Walker. We had an emergency management meeting also later in that day, which talks about all the things, and effectively brings all the agencies together to talk about emergency planning, so that when and if things happen, we're as prepared as we can be. I subbed for the Mayor at the Launceston competition, went to the ARIAs last week, and I did say Margaret East, who is an amazing person, who actually keeps the whole thing running. I mean, and there are a number of really strong people that sit beside her, but Margaret is the glue that keeps it all together. And I did say rudely that she'd probably been doing it for 100 years, but it's not quite that long, but she's been there for a long time, and done a fantastic job, and she has a smile, and it's just terrific to watch people doing what they can. It might be just because they enjoy singing or whatever it is, but it's just fantastic to allow that talent to actually go and do something in public, which is terrific. So well done to them. A couple of days ago, I went to the STEP presentations down at TAFE, which was actually run by Welcome Cultural Services, which is actually helping people from other communities, other countries, to actually get hospitality skills for which they can go out and be employed. And for those that are in the hospitality industry, it's a fantastic process, because Welcome will actually support that person and any businesses who actually employ those graduates for the next 2 years, to ensure that if there are any issues that go on, they can actually help them out. And I think 3 out of the 6 had already had full-time employment. So really good initiative, and I know they've got another 3 or 4 rounds this year, and I think the number of people applying for those roles at TAFE have actually grown. A fantastic initiative. I think that'll do.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Further contributions? Councillor reports.
Except
Councillor Palmer.
Here you go. You can raise the hat.
Thank you, Mayor. The Deputy's been very, very busy. Great to see. I recently attended the Cancer Council Biggest Morning Tea at the Lilydale Football Club. And I'd like to acknowledge a lady called Gay Walsh. She's been doing the Biggest Morning Tea for the last 14 years. Next year she'll celebrate 15 years. Incredible work she does, rallying the community. There was hundreds of people in attendance. It was a wonderful, delicious morning tea. And she did raise $3,075 this year. So she is a powerhouse of Lilydale. So congratulations to Gay and her team that do put that on. Also attended the North Launceston Bowls and Community Club, the mighty North Launceston Knights Awards Night the other week. And congratulations to all the members that received awards there. They won a few premierships this year, so they were very excited. Starting Point Neighbourhood House, a big shout out to the many volunteers that each and every day turn up to the neighbourhood house and do whatever they can to support the community, especially in the northern suburbs. There's over 300 community members that go through the doors up there each and every week, and they run drug and alcohol programs, they run domestic violence programs, they run learn to drive programs, and a massive amount of food support programs up there. So they do incredible work up there, and it was lovely to attend the luncheon to see those volunteers recognised. So thank you very much for all the work that especially the volunteers do up at Starting Point. Just one more. The Deputy Mayor and I just attended, I don't think there was anyone else there, sorry if there was, the COTA, Lifelong Respect Walk to raise awareness for elder abuse. So it's really important for all of us to check in on not only our family and friends, but perhaps, you might walk past someone and you just, have a conversation with them and just make sure, check in that they're okay. It was wonderful to see Relationships Australia in attendance. So if anyone out there is listening and needs support, Relationships Australia are always there to help anyone that might want to just have a conversation. A big shout out to Bridget Wilkinson, the CEO. She does incredible work. She's on the ABC regularly, really promoting all the work, the wonderful work that they do. So thank you very much for that organisation. They go right around the state. They do walks in Hobart, Devonport, Burnie, Launceston. So big shout out to the work that they do. And I'd like to congratulate you, Mayor, and your wife for the wonderful announcement of young Melody. I'm sure Billy will be absolutely wrapped. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. Just on behalf of Council, I'd like to acknowledge Pride Month, a time to celebrate identity and diversity, strength and contribution of our LGBTIQA+ community, and to reaffirm our shared commitment to inclusion, respect and belonging for all. We also recognise the important and complex history of LGBTIQA+ rights in Tasmania. Until 1997, Tasmania had some of the harshest criminal penalties for homosexual activity in the Western world and was the last Australian jurisdiction to decriminalise homosexuality. This reform followed a United Nations Human Rights Committee ruling, federal legislative change and a High Court challenge. In the years that followed, Tasmania has become a national leader in reform, introducing strong anti-discrimination protections in 1999, demonstrating both the impact of sustained advocacy and the capacity for meaningful social change. Launceston holds a significant place in Australia's history as the first city in Tasmania and one of the first cities in the country to establish a gay law reform group 50 years ago this year, reflecting a long-standing local commitment to advocacy, equality and human rights. At the City of Launceston, we are continuing this legacy through our work with a community representative working group to develop a LGBTIQA+ action plan. This work responds directly to a previous notice of motion of council brought by Councillor Dawkins and builds on insights gathered through a community survey launched at this time last year. Together, these efforts are shaping a strategic and community-informed approach to strengthening safety, inclusion and visibility across our municipality. I would also like to acknowledge that Pride banners are not displayed this year. At this time last year, Council's Pride flags were deliberately and publicly desecrated. While those flags were replaced and additional banners installed at the time, we recognise that this incident was deeply hurtful, particularly for young members of our LGBTIQA+ community. Council remains firmly committed to demonstrating our values of inclusion and belonging. However, we are progressing with care and consideration in consultation with the LGBTIQA+ community. Our forthcoming action plan, informed directly by community, will provide guidance on which significant dates are most meaningful to our community and how they should be recognised in ways that are respectful, safe and impactful. Council is proud to work alongside our community to ensure Launceston continues to be a place where diversity is celebrated and where everyone feels they belong. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McMahon. Any further contributions? Okay, we'll move through the agenda then to 14, which is questions by councillors. 14.1, questions on notice by councillors are published and responded to as a part of this agenda. So 14.2, questions without notice. Any questions without notice? Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. Over a number of years, I have consistently raised concerns regarding increasing antisocial behaviour within the CBD. I have also advocated for a coordinated roundtable discussion involving all relevant stakeholders, including all levels of government, Tas Police, the Chamber, community service providers, business representatives and other agencies responsible for prevention, intervention and enforcement. Despite these requests, such a forum has not been convened. As a councillor and a business owner operating for almost 17 years in the CBD, I know the impact these issues are having on businesses, workers, residents and visitors. As recent as last Thursday evening at 7 p.m, a local man was assaulted barely 50 metres from the St John Street bus stop, where security guards are in place. Dragged to the ground, kicked and punched repeatedly by 6 youths. 2 black eyes, a lost tooth, cuts and bruises, traumatised. The security guards were attending to an intoxicated person on the corner of St John Street and Brisbane Street at the time of the assault. Businesses continue to experience theft, intimidation and other disruptive behaviours that undermine confidence in our city centre. As a council, we invest significant resources into attracting people to the CBD, supporting local businesses, activating public spaces and promoting Launceston as a welcoming and vibrant city. However, these efforts are undermined when community members and visitors don't feel safe. No single organisation can solve these challenges. They involve complex issues. What is required is leadership, collaboration and a willingness to bring all parties together. The community is becoming increasingly frustrated by the tendency for responsibility to be passed from one organisation to another. Businesses are not asking for blame. They are asking for the key decision makers to sit around one table, acknowledge the problem and identify what each organisation can do. I believe that is a reasonable expectation and I believe that Council is well placed to facilitate that conversation. So my questions are, given the ongoing concerns being raised within the community and given my previous request for greater collaboration on this issue, will you, Mayor, commit to initiating and convening a multi-agency roundtable within 3 months involving all relevant stakeholders to develop a coordinated response to antisocial behaviour and community safety issues affecting our CBD? Question 2. If not, what specific alternative actions will Council undertake to facilitate a coordinated response and ensure concerns of the business community and wider public are being actively addressed? My third question was probably already been mentioned today and potentially answered, but I will ask it so that it is on the record. And will Council undertake a review of the specific roles and expectations of the security guards at the St John Street bus stops? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yep, we'll take those on notice there and ensure that they're responded to accordingly. Any further questions without notice? Okay, we'll move forward to 15 and 16. We have no written notices of motion and no committee reports identified in this agenda. At 17, we have connections and livability, which includes the QVMAG. 17.1, we've got the event grant assessment panel terms of reference. Recommendation being that Council approves the updated event grants assessment panel terms of reference as published. Somebody please to move. Been moved by Councillor McMahon, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Questions? Any questions by councillors? Okay, there being no questions, we'll move to the mover to speak. Thanks, Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. Not too much to say here. This is just changing what has been written previously that coincides with the policy that we approved some time ago. So it's basically just making sure that everything aligns and that everything is above board. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Palmer? Contributions from the table? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 18, we have got Community Asset and Design. 18.1 is the Launceston Flood Authority appointment of directors. Recommendation is published. So somebody please to move the recommendation as published. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Harris. Questions to the recommendation and the appointment of Mr McKendrick? Any questions? Okay, Deputy Mayor to speak.
Now have to put OAM next to his name.
Oh, true.
No, look, I think we've spoken about Robin and his commitment to the city over many, many, many years, and he was legislative councillor as well, representing the city. So he's been doing things for a long time, and a great person, I think, very apt for this role.
Excellent. Anything further, Councillor Harris? Any contributions from the table? To the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 18.2, we've got the quarterly report for Community Asset and Design, with the recommendation being to receive the report. Somebody please to move. Councillor Harris, seconded. Councillor Marsden. Any questions to the report? Contributions to the report? Councillor Harris is the mover.
Yeah, just to say this is the Community Assets and Design Team's quarterly report. Of interest to myself was the number of DAs that we had for the quarter, which was 103, worth $84 million. Of those, there were 31 new dwellings amongst the development applications and also 109 new building lots. So it just shows there's a huge range of things that this particular team look after, and for others to take the time to read it. But I won't go any further than that.
Great. Any further contributions? Oh, question, Deputy Mayor.
Just looking through my list of things, I just note there, and again, thank you for the report. I think it's really informative, the reports we get on a quarterly basis from the team. So thank you for that. Appreciate there's a bit of work that goes into it as well. Just note the federal funding bid for the state government for Kings Bridge was knocked back. Do we have any short-term concerns regarding its stability based on the engineering issues, saying that it did have some engineering issues? And you know, I assume it's a longer-term issue with the bridge rather than a short-term, but just making sure that the bridge is still safe.
Excellent. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Executive Leader, Community Asset and Design.
I won't say too much, Deputy Mayor, because I'm not across the details. We are working closely with DSG. It is a council-owned bridge, but it is maintained by Department of State Growth, so we've been working with them. As I understand it, it currently has a load limit in place. I'd have to query the exact amount if you wish, but we're working on, I guess...
I'm aware of the load limit. I just want to make sure that
the longer-term plan is to reinforce that, and there's a heritage overlay as well with that bridge. So my understanding is that officers are currently working with DSG, now that we understand that the federal government grant's not going to be received, to see whether we can review that.
Great. Any further contributions? Okay, to the vote then. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Thank you. 19, we've got delivery and performance. At 19.1, we've got the 25 and 26 budget amendments. With the recommendation, looking for somebody please to move as published. Deputy Mayor has moved, seconded by Councillor Harris. Any questions to the recommendation and the amendments? A question, Deputy Mayor.
Just what did we start off with as our underlying operating deficit? Can anyone tell me that easily? Or if it's not easy, I'm happy to take it on notice. Because it was something under
off the top of my head, it was a deficit of 786,000. It's certainly in that ballpark.
That's what I thought. So,
yep.
so effectively, we've gone up by 1.2.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Any further questions? No further questions then. Anything to speak on or contribute, Deputy Mayor?
I think, as always, the officers give us good detail in regard to what's happened with the monies, why they're being transferred. Usually it's a transfer from capital operations, which is probably what's exacerbating that loss, as in the projected loss. But when we get to the next item, we'll probably find that we're going to take that back again. So I'm just looking what our starting point is, which is now 1.9 as opposed to 786. So we're about 1.2 behind based on the adjustments that have been made from capital operations. Is that correct, what I'm saying?
It is. Just give me one moment, Deputy, and I shall check. I misspoke. It was a underlying deficit of 621,000. So
the 1.3 increase in that based on our readjustment, mainly from capital to operations.
Correct, and some other adjustments that have occurred throughout the year, but the majority would be transfers from capital to operations, which you've identified. And we'll talk to the monthly finance report, the next item.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any further contributions? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. 19.2, as foreshadowed, is the monthly financial performance report, with the recommendation being to receive the report. Somebody please to move. Deputy Mayor has moved. Councillor Harris has seconded. Any questions to the monthly report? There being none, we'll go to contributions. Deputy Mayor, anything to contribute?
Yeah, thank you. And again, I guess on the monthly report, everything looks tickety-boo. We're at 2.7 in front as opposed to 1.9, which is what the previous one. So there's a discrepancy of about 4.5 million there, roughly, between what the budget's telling us and what we've done adjustments for during the course of the year. I think, interestingly, the devil's in the detail, and you need to go to the actual report, which sort of talks about the variances that have been incurred. I mean, I know they noted there, but more about which ones we're going to keep. And I think there's certainly about $2 million positive in regards to what officers so far can say that we can lock that in to say that's not going to change. So there's about $2 million there, with some still yet to come and some potential positive variances out of that. So I guess based on that, from what we're locking in, 1.9 is going to come down about break even, as opposed to the $600,000 loss that we were doing. So I guess that's best guesstimates. I think if my maths and I'm actually interpreting the reports correctly, that we're actually looking to be around about break even based on current estimates. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Deputy. As discussed with the previous item, the full year deficit has shifted to around a $1.9 million budget, but when we look at the actuals year to date April, we are showing a surplus of around $3.2 million. So the budget in this report is actually phased month to month, whereas in the previous item it is a full year budget as well. So this is a more nuanced report that we're looking at.
So to me, there's still potential, looking at some of the variances, positive and negative in there. There's still some potential upside when we get to the end of the month in regard to that. So at the moment, at least, which is on top of including our efficiency dividend and things like that, we've actually managed to bring back, which I think if those that were here, which were not all of us, at the budget time last time, where I think we as councillors really put it back to management to say we really want to try and drive that 600,000 or 700,000 loss. We don't want to see that. We want to try and pick that up through efficiency dividends and other things. The good thing about it is actually some of it's actually through positive engagement within our community. There's lots of activity going on. There's a lot of fees that are being earned because people are doing stuff. And that's really, I think, really heartening for us. And I note that we're a bit behind in rates, but that's more about valuation issues. So I assume that we don't get that this year. That's going to be a bonus into next year, because the valuations, do we go back for a year, or can we only take them?
We don't. They cut off at 30 June, unfortunately. So rates is around $120,000 unfavourable out of an $80 million budget. Very minor in the scheme of things, but no, they don't carry forward year to year.
That's a pity. Anyway, all right, so anyway, look, I think there's some good news stories in there, and I guess with the changes in the way the organisation is structured, we still have a number of vacancies that we're filling and so forth like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see with where we go to, particularly considering an issue that we're looking at presently.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A question, Councillor Harris.
Yeah, just a question. I am asking on behalf of the speaker right at the start of the meeting from the gallery about the $100,000 insurance recovery relating to the theft of the Zegna trophy. Whilst we must have been the custodians and obviously the insurance on that, what is likely to happen with that $100,000? The trophy is somewhat irreplaceable, but I'm just not sure what we intend to do with it. I am a little curious about the additional $48,000 insurance settlement for Duck Reach Gorge, what that might have related to as well.
I'll have to take those on notice, Councillor Harris. I'll need to get some more information around those and come back to you if that's okay.
Further contributions? Anything to close? Right, to the vote then. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Strategy and innovation at 20.1, we have the lease at the UTAS shopping area. Somebody please to move the recommendation as published. We've got the Deputy Mayor has moved with the seconder from Councillor Britton. Any questions to the lease at 2 Invermay Road? Any questions? Question, Deputy Mayor?
Just because it's probably more to do with the one with regard to the Mowbray Cricket Club, but it might be useful to actually countenance in relation to the UTAS thing, because this one's basically a cost recovery, whereas we're charging an amount for a lease payment in the other one. So, Sharon, I did speak to you yesterday as to whether there's, just give a bit of an update as to what Category A and Category B leases look like.
Sure.
Just to remind us.
Sure. So earlier on this year, Council adopted the lease and licence policy. The community user groups were divided into two. So there was Community Group A and Community Group B. Community Group A have no ability to create an income, basically, so they can't run a bar or do any of those sort of activities. Community Group B have the higher rent fee and they have the ability to run a licensed bar, have events, hire out rooms, etc.
Thank you. Excellent. Any further questions? Okay, to speak, Deputy Mayor.
Look, I've got... The building is theirs, the land is ours.
Great, thank you. Councillor Britton is the seconder. Any further contributions? Get to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Now, councillors, we've just hit the 1 hour. We're just going to take a quick 5-minute comfort break and we'll start again at 2:10. to the agenda at 20.2, 1 Connaught Crescent, which is being recommended for disposal. Councillor Marsden, before we get to the recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I just stand to move an alternate motion, and that is that Council, in principle, continues to support the intent of the decision on the 19th of February 2026 to dispose of the land located at 1 Connaught Crescent, West Launceston, certificate of title 111674 Folio 1, to the Return Service League of Australia Tasmanian Branch Incorporated, RSL, and 2, request officers undertake further options as to how best to proceed with a transfer of the property, either by way of sale, lease or other mechanism, and bring the matter back to further council decision making. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Now, this is now the substantive motion. Yep, so it's live, moved. The alternate is now the motion by Councillor Marsden, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. We'll go to questions. Are there questions to the motion before we get to speaking? Councillor Britton.
Has anybody spoken to, are the RSL aware of this?
No, great question, thank you. Due to this coming off the floor at this particular moment, I can confidently say that no, the RSL have not been made aware of the alternate motion, but they were aware that this was coming forward to council again, and I have confidence in the team that this will be prioritised, because it very well could be conducted around a time frame that could be impeded. So this is now the live motion, but yes, there has been no correspondence to the RSL because this is coming off the floor. Great question. Yep.
Obviously, this might be a bit hard to answer. Do we have any idea on what a time frame might be around this? And would it be appropriate to put it into the motion only in good faith to the RSL to say that this is very much still our intention, but we just have come across this hiccup?
Great. Thank you, Councillor Britton. I'll go through the Acting CEO.
Thank you, through the Mayor. We anticipate around about 4 weeks.
Thank you. Further questions? Yeah, Councillor Kai?
Okay, just to help me understand. So on page 85, it says, a first right of refusal option to purchase land is void after you've got the 21 years where the purchase price is determined by reference to market value at the time the right is exercised, or 6 years from the date of grant in any other cases. So I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Right.
No, thank you for
So
that
my
question. Yes, we've got Duncan
this.
from Legal here to quantify some of those. So going through the Acting Executive Leader of Strategy and Innovation to Duncan.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Councillor. So if Council was willing to pay market rates to buy the property back, we could have a 21-year option to achieve that. If the intent is to purchase it back at $1, that's exercisable for 6 years.
I'm still a bit confused. Why can't there be a clause in there where if we sold it to them for 1 year, that we can buy it back for 1 year indefinitely? $1 indefinitely? Why would there be a time frame on that?
There's a specific piece of legislation that sets out those restrictions as to 6 and 21 years, and that's the reason we can't incorporate that into the contract. That clause would be void.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Kai. And just to reiterate again, that's now gone through our legal team and it has been checked by a third party also to cross-reference that information, and that's, I think, what's brought the motion off the floor to change that, because it wasn't as clear as it is now when this was brought for decision in February. So it's now been looked into and double-checked again and gone, well, hence from the floor to looking into that 6-year or 21-year.
So I have another question. So I know during the last 3 years I've been here, we've been doing quite a few of these $1 purchase things. Is that the same conditions that's been on all of them?
Thank you, Councillor Kai. We'll go through Duncan again through legal.
So generally speaking, that would just be an outright transfer for $1. It's quite rare to have this sort of situation with a buyback mechanism. I'm sure there's more, but I'm aware of only 2. And that's over a much longer period than the couple of years you've just mentioned.
Right, okay. So I'll leave that. Thank you.
No, that's okay. This is the time for questions, and this is coming from the floor, so it's okay. It's okay to ask questions. I've got a question with Councillor Harrison and then Councillor Britton.
Just a question through you, Mayor. The potential for a 99-year lease for $1, does that get influenced by the legislation that you're talking about, where an outright sale is being made and then being bought back? Because it would seem to achieve what we wish to achieve for the next 99 years at least, to buy the property back and stop the RSL being able to, if you like, profit from the purchase of the land for only $1 after just 6 years of owning the land. Are you able to see whether leases, are you able to tell us whether leases are affected by the same legislation?
Thanks, Councillor Harris. And just going through Duncan in legal.
No, they're not. So a lease would be an alternative. You need to have both parties on board with that.
Great. Councillor Britton.
Sorry, just one more quick question. There's nothing. There's no. We can't sign some sort of separate agreement with the RSL over the land, put a covenant on it, anything like that.
Thank you.
It's a very complex area of law, potentially. That's why we need the time to go away and look at that and come back. So if we want us to explore that, we can do that. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Excellent. Thank you. Further questions? Yeah, Councillor McMahon.
So obviously the officers have come up with the first option. Can you just explain why you would choose that option over going the way that has been presented as an alternate motion? Is it like, obviously there was a preference to do it this way?
Yeah, great. Thank you. No, that's okay.
You don't understand that very well.
No, you did fine. Just
so the original decision, do you mean?
It's our original.
The published recommendation.
Sorry,
Yes.
I've lost.
So I think our published recommendation for today was recognising the intent of council for the transfer of the land and for the use of the RSL. There may be options for us to consider, but it might be that we end up back in this situation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, so I think just for some clarification, I think we'll be a little generous with the time and the questions that we've just had as well, because this has come off the floor. Just to reiterate, the original intention was to use an underutilised, somewhat difficult parcel of land to be developed for Tasmanian veteran acute housing. The thought then was that if that initiative, which is federally funded, was to be taken advantage of, they build the house, they don't need it anymore, they would sell it and, let's say, make $500,000 on the profit of council giving $1. The recommendation now does put some time restraints on that process to go and look at other options, leasing, if there was, and let's call it, if there was bad faith, because I think it would be in bad faith, potentially, for the RSL to act in that way, to sell and make profit from that. This allows council an opportunity to look at recouping back community-owned land and retaining that development and that opportunity for whatever that looks like into the future. This would be an extra step of due diligence to ensure that potentially there wasn't somebody making profit off a think it's a little, and I want to be really clear that I'm very supportive of the RSL, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but this is just the circumstance, taking names out of it. So that's what has been moved and seconded to take the process to an extra step and have a look at leasing options, to have a look at other legislation that might allow covenants and so forth. Whereas the original intention was to just move forward with the proposal. Good faith, it's going to happen. Whether that happens or not in the future, willing to take the risk, outweigh what actually might not happen. So that's where we're at now. So this is what we're voting on. So we've asked questions. Do we have any further questions? Another question to that, Councillor Harris, and then we'll speak.
Yeah, we may not know the answer to this. Was there any time frame expressed by the RSL under which they needed to create a start on their deed to get their federal funding? Just coming up to the end of the financial year, and often that is a drop-dead date for you must have started by. Hopefully it's the end of the calendar year, but I just, in thinking about this, wanting 4 weeks.
Yeah. So we'll ask through the acting CEO and from the team if there was any understanding of timeframes in the initial conversations, because we had the workshop, we've had the subsequent decision made in February, and now we're here today. Were there any timeframes?
To the best of our knowledge, no, there are not any timeframes that we would be.
That we're aware of?
That we're aware of.
Yeah, or that we've been made aware of is, yeah, okay. Further questions before we speak to the alternate, which is now the substantive? Okay. Councillor Marsden.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to say I completely agree with your assessment of the reason why I brought forward this alternate motion. It's in no way to take away from what we would like to provide the RSL. I think their veteran accommodation that they're proposing to use this land for should be commended. This is simply the council protecting itself for the first right of reply. This legislation was only made known to the councillors when the agenda was first published, so hence the reason why this motion has come from the floor. But as I said, this is in no way showing an intent not to support the RSL. This is just a way to protect the council because of said legislation being made known to us after we originally voted on the 19th of February. So I just would like to say commend my fellow councillors to make sure that we get a decision correct and hope that you vote along the lines of this motion in favour of this motion so that we can make sure we're protecting us as a council moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Marsden. Second to Deputy Mayor.
I support the comments made by Councillor Marsden. Just going a little further, to me, the RSL process, very happy with that. The thing is that we made a vote with a certain outcome that we expected to happen, and it now can't happen the way that we thought it was because we thought we'd have ad infinitum on that. So bringing the report back says we've got a difference. So all we're really doing is asking to ensure can we get the same outcome in another way. Was really the process of what today's motion's about. So I'm comfortable with that, provided it doesn't create any great angst. I think RSL, we want to do this. We just want to make sure that we preserve the intent that was done with the original motion, I think is all we're trying to achieve. The only other thing that just unfortunately has come to my head as I was coming through, just the reversionary right, in the event that they don't proceed with the development, is there a reversionary that it comes back to us? Head goes over to Birchall's car park where something was supposed to be built and never was, but they maintained and kept the car park. That we should ensure that anything has, in the event that they don't proceed with what was proposed to be done on that land, that the land should come back to us. Is that some part of the contract?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor.
So the contract, the transfer is conditional upon the securing of funding. So the land wouldn't be transferred until that funding was confirmed.
So it should be securing the funding and the development, because the development should be part of that as well. Because I know we had that issue with Birchall Car Park many years ago, so we don't want to revert back to that.
Yep. So I think that was implied in the decision that was made. We can make sure that is incorporated.
Sure. Thank you.
Great. Further contributions? Councillor Britton.
Thank you. It is, for the sake of good governance and the fact that this will most likely happen again and all has to be done correctly. I understand all that, so I'll be voting in favour of this today, but I can't stress enough, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I do think we have put timeframes on things in the past and not met them. The RSL have done everything, the intent behind what we're doing is to provide them with this land to give homeless veterans housing. They're not going to be able to take the land office unless they get the federal funding, and they're going to have bigger fish to deal with if they then turn around and sell the land, make a profit and head to Vegas for a weekend. Now, I know that's not what's going to happen, and I know that's not, and obviously no one is, but I just really hope that we can get to the bottom of this as quick as possible, and go back to, I'm not a lawyer, so I won't say what I was going to say, but perhaps we could do it in 2 weeks, so this is not bad. But yeah, I would just like to say, if this motion was to fail, I generally don't have any issue with passing the original motion. I think we'd have 6 years in a way to get it back off them anyway, and as far as I'm concerned, the house is going to be built within 12 months. But I understand there's governance involved, so I just hope the RSL hear this, understand we're going to work very quickly, and hopefully in a month we have this all resolved.
So, Councillor Bryn, I'm going to take that as foreshadowing that if this motion fails, then the published recommendation comes forward. I'd just be mindful as well, I won't give political advice either, but if you're going to foreshadow something, you probably don't vote for what you're foreshadowing against, but that's okay. Absolutely, you can do what your right is to do, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, further contributions? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I really do understand the intent that Councillor Marsden is putting forward, but today I will be sticking with the original motion. I have full faith in the RSL that they will do exactly what they spoke to us here a few weeks ago, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Further contributions? Anything? Oh, Councillor McMahon.
Just quickly, I'm actually with Councillor Palmer on this one. We're giving them the land, they're getting funding to build something on it. I feel like it would almost be an injustice if we took back that property for $1. And I really don't think that that organisation is going to behave that way. I think they're doing it for a purpose. They're focused on why they're doing it. So I have full faith as well.
Further contributions? Okay, Deputy Mayor, just for a moment, I'm just going to make a short comment, if you don't mind sharing. Absolutely understand the intent as well, and I really appreciate the conversations. I'll be going with the original as printed, just because of similar conversations and thoughts there, and it will be what it'll be. So it's just, appreciate the conversation, appreciate the intent, and that's it. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, hasn't closed yet.
Fantastic. In light of recent comments, I'd just like to, so if we were to go back to the original intent after today, what are the, talking about precedent, are we setting a precedent for something in the future? Anything negative or?
No. In hindsight, we'd be more careful about the way that we had worded the recommendation. So I'm not concerned with the precedent.
Councillor Kai?
Yes, so I'm thinking of the same as what Councillor Britton is. So there, I'm just thinking in the future there might be a possibility of Frederick Street coming to do the same with the Frederick Street Kindergarten that we are now sort of thinking of passing ownership to them so they can develop however they want. So I'm thinking if we do this with this one, then in future cases like this, I was thinking, can we explore into a... No. So each one is different. Right, okay. I just thought if there was a set rule of each time we do it, then we can go back.
That's a better way to frame it, Councillor
each
Kai.
way we can go back and say, here are the regular, conditions, and you don't meet that, or you do, or it's already there, so it doesn't have to be 6 years or 21 years. In any time in the future, if they don't want it anymore, it comes back for $1. So I was thinking more in future-wise, because there's also other examples like the National Automobile Museum as well, where I think they are trying to seek council to give that to them as well for $1. So there's quite a few examples sitting here, and I'm just thinking that we should set a condition so that whenever this happens, it's there and we can just go in and look at it, and we treat everyone the same, not this one yes, that one no. So I'll leave
Thanks,
it at that.
Councillor Kai. No, that's
Thank
a better way
you.
to frame it. Even if there was a policy or a direction of council, every decision that council makes as a chamber is taken on the merits of that proposal, of that recommendation. You could have the same proposal come 2 weeks in a row and have different results. Doesn't matter. So I would like to really reaffirm, it's my personal thought is around precedents. That I'm not worried about precedents. You deal with the agenda item as it comes to you, but I understand that in that decision-making process, there very well might be somebody that comes to council and says, you did this for that group, I want that same result. They might not have the same proposal and they might not get the same result, but as the elected representatives, we have that ability to make that choice, determine on what's in front of us at the time. So, yeah, a good question. And if there was policies, we could follow or not follow. But I just want to be clear as well around the 6-year and the 21-year, they are legislation. So they're laws, they're rules that we don't have. We can advocate to change them, but as it currently stands right now, they're bestowed upon us, opposed to us making them ourselves. Councillor Britton, Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Harris.
Just in case it wasn't formal enough, I will foreshadow the original motion.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Harris.
I think we're all actually on the same boat. We're all wanting to transfer the land. All I think that the current motion is, and I'll put this in the frame of a question in a second, is to try and see whether we can get the original intent, which is actually us getting the land back for $1, is by looking and saying, is there any further research that needs to be done in regard to it? So the intent of the adjusted motion, will that achieve that and therefore could still come back with the original motion?
Yes, it could.
Right. Councillor Harris?
Yes, thank you. I wasn't at the meeting of the 19th of February, so I didn't hear the RSL speak on this matter. However, I do have a question that, in reading what is foreshadowed, help me understand which way I'll vote this time, that it says that we're exercisable for 6 years. So at a point prior to 6 years, and let's assume the RSL have built their house on the land, could we then say to the RSL, we want to now take our land back at $1? No. Or not?
No, it's only been framed in the way as if it came up for sale in that 6-year period, we would be first right to buy that back for $1 opposed to commercial rate.
Right.
Yeah. It's not dependent on the actual facility, it's dependent on the ability for it to be sold. If we're giving them $220,000 in land for $1 and then they go to flip it for $500,000 in 5 years, we would say, hang on a minute, we get that back for $1. If it went to the commercial market or...
Yeah, but the question still would be that in that first 6 years, we could actually retake our land for $1, or is that not a...
Only if they decide to want to sell it.
Only if they want to sell it, we then get to buy it for $1.
We get the first right.
Just to make sure I was understanding what was being proposed by the foreshadow, mate.
Any further contributions? Anything to close, Councillor Marsden?
Just, thank you, Mayor, sorry. Just that I appreciate the debate around the table, respectfully, and I also have a great deal of respect for the RSL, and I'll just reiterate again that this is only come about with changes that we've been made aware of in legislation, so I'm moving it in good governance. But the outcome for me is definitely 100% have the RSL have the land so they can build the property on it.
Great. Okay, excellent. We're putting the motion as printed on the screen to the vote. All those in favour? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kai, Councillor Marsden and Councillor Harris. Those against? The motion fails and reverts to the foreshadowed from Councillor Britton, which is the printed recommendation. Councillor Britton.
Thank you very much. There's been enough debate around it. Thank you for the debate once again. I I was worried about governance and more worried about a precedent. And as soon as I realised we weren't going to set a precedent, I wasn't too worried about that. So I've got full faith in the RSL. As I said, they can't get their funding, and this isn't going to happen unless they convince the federal government that they're going to do it. They've done everything right up until this point, and they don't have too much, and they don't have a real bad history anyway. So hopefully this all goes through. Hopefully nothing that we thought about today comes to be, and there's a veteran with a house soon. Thank you.
Okay, so this has now been moved by Councillor Britton. We need a seconder. Councillor Palmer. So now the as published recommendation is the live motion. I've got a question from the Deputy.
Just on the basis that I think that there's not a lot of difference between the two, is it possible for officers to still continue to look at options to ensure to deliver us on the basis of what we originally provided, which is having further negotiation, getting further legal advice in regards to how we can get the intent of trying to maintain that right of first refusal?
We can look at that and then come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking through that recommendation and just looking at what's stated in there as to where we could find opportunities for that, whilst today's decision might be to move forward with the process, if that could go coherently perhaps. Excellent. Okay, further speakers? Okay, let's put it to the vote then. All those in favour? That is all councillors present. The motion is carried. We've got the Nunamara Waste Transfer Station closure at 20.3. I don't have any noted speakers for this item, so we'll move to the recommendation for somebody to move, please, as published. Somebody please to move. Councillor Britton is moving as published. Councillor Harris has seconded. Councillor Britton, any questions? Questions first? Councillor Harris, questions first as the seconder. And then we'll go to Councillor Kai. Councillor Kai, question.
Just a really simple one. Could forgot your name. God. Nick, can you explain how things are going to change? Like what's going to happen after this is closed? Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Kai.
Sure, thanks for the question. Yeah, so if Nunamara is closed at the potential, well, the date that we're looking at is the 27th of June, so that it only operates on a Saturday between 8:30 and 12:30. Out in that area now, there are curbside collection services available to everyone in that area. So essentially, that area will now be serviced through our curbside collection.
So in a sense, it's actually better now, like the service is better for them than when we had this then?
It certainly is if people take that collection up, because there's more capacity for recovery, say with organics and things like that. And given that there's so low usage at the site at the moment and that it operates at a loss.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Question, Councillor Harris.
Yeah, just a question on, you mentioned organics. So we do offer organics collection throughout the whole municipality, including Nunamara. So those who are currently using the Nunamara tip to take their green waste there, they will be able to just put in their bin.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. That's good.
Further questions? Okay, to the mover, Councillor Britton.
No, look, not seeing. In a way, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Got curbside collections costing us money. It's just time to close it up.
Councillor Harris is the seconder. Further contributions? To the vote, all those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Thank you. 20.4, we've got the lease at the Mowbray Cricket Club. With somebody pleased to move as published. We've got Councillor Harris as the mover, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any questions to the lease? No questions, we'll move to speaking. Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Yep, so this is the Mowbray Cricket Club, home of Ricky Ponting, out there just to the oval north of at York Park, as we would know it. and they are being subject to, was it type B, the higher level, of $4,000 odd a year, because I obviously run a bar and other facilities out of that during matches, as well as during the football season. So although I suspect that this is only for 6 months, or is it a full 12 months? Because they do only use it part-time during the year. Or is it their facility? So it occurred to me only when I was standing on my feet. I should have thought of that beforehand and framed it as a question. But once I started to speak, it made sense that perhaps they wouldn't be there the whole 12 months. No one can tell me? That's okay.
Sorry. The lease is for 5 years, so they'll continually be able to operate out of that building for 5 years.
So they must sublease it to the football club, or we're a separate lease for those?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Oh, is it? Right, thank you. Nothing more than sporting facilities are a great council-provided service. That's what we are here to do, amongst many other things that council does. And certainly at that level of NTCA, Mowbray deserve to be supported, along with the other clubs that make up the NTCA, if we are to have a flourishing cricketing culture in this state. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Deputy Mayor.
I think only to say that I think that the rent that they're paying is equivalent roughly to what they've been previously paying, and they've now been relieved of the burden of insurance, so they're actually better off than they previously were.
Great. Any further contributions? Anything to close, Councillor Harris? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We have nothing identified as a part of agenda item 21, 22 or 23. So we close today's meeting at 2:45 with the next council meeting date. The next special meeting of council will be held at 1 p.m. on the 18th of June at the council chambers here at Town Hall. The next ordinary meeting will be held at 1 p.m. on the 25th of June. Thank you, councillors.